Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. So NASCAR 25 has officially kicked things off, and let me tell you, this launch has already stirred up quite a reaction from players, especially those who jumped in early through the Gold Edition access. You'd think after all the anticipation and hype, everything would be smooth sailing right from the start, but yeah, not exactly. What's happening right now with NASCAR 25 is one of those classic launch week stories where excitement and frustration are kind of going head to head, and the community is letting their voices be heard loud and clear. So here's the deal. The game officially started its early access period on October 10th, and for a lot of players, that first lap experience wasn't exactly what they were expecting. The number one issue that exploded across social media and Reddit was all about the wheel support, or more specifically, the lack of proper force feedback. You had people setting up their Fanatec, Logitech, and Thrustmaster wheels ready to feel the rumble of the tires and the pull of the car through every turn, and instead it was like the wheel had gone to sleep. Barely any feedback, weak resistance, and in some cases, it felt like you were steering through air. And as anyone who's played sim racing games knows, when that feedback isn't right, it completely kills the immersion. It's like watching a movie without the sound. You're missing half the experience. Now, the developers, who, remember, come from iRacing, a studio that lives and breathes simulation-level racing, didn't just stay quiet. Almost immediately, they started responding on social media saying they were aware of the issue, that they'd been testing fixes, and that the team had literally been working through the night to get things sorted. That's something I've got to give them credit for. When a launch stumbles like this, communication is everything, and the devs at least stepped up quickly with what was wrong. Still, it's wild how widespread the problem is. Players across PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, and PC were all reporting similar problems. You had people posting clips comparing the feedback from other racing games, and you could tell everyone was hoping for that same strong, precise feel that iRacing is known for. But in NASCAR 25, at least in this launch build, it just wasn't there. On top of that, some players said the controller vibration was super weak too, almost non-existent. So it wasn't just wheel users who felt something was off, it was the whole racing feel. And then there was a bit of hope on the horizon. A few hours into early access, some PS5 players started noticing that a small patch had popped up. It was around 5 gigabytes, and people began speculating, was this the first big fix? Turns out, yeah, this was the first official update for NASCAR 25. It wasn't massive in terms of content, but it looked like a fast, emergency-style hotfix to address the most immediate problems. From what's being reported, this first update focused on improving wheel feedback, fixing a crash related to the paint kit tool, and even correcting an issue where last-lap cautions weren't triggering properly. And if you've ever followed a game launch before, that's kind of the typical order of operations. Developers usually prioritize the most game-breaking or experience-breaking problems first. Force feedback being broken in a racing game is like sound being missing in a shooter, so that obviously had to come first. Then you've got stability fixes, like the paint kit crash, because apparently that was causing the game to freeze for some users while they were trying to design custom cars. That's another big part of NASCAR culture, personalized rides, so you can see why people were upset when that wasn't working smoothly. Now, what's interesting is that the update landed on PS5 first, while Xbox players were still waiting for it. Some folks on Reddit mentioned that they hadn't seen any update come through yet for Xbox, and the developers later confirmed that the patch was being rolled out in stages. So if you're on Xbox or PC and haven't gotten the fix yet, don't freak out. It's coming. It's just rolling out a bit slower than everyone hoped. One thing that's been kind of surprising to watch is how the community has reacted overall. Yes, there's frustration, tons of it, but there's also this cautious optimism. You can tell people want this game to succeed. It's been years since we had a proper NASCAR console experience that felt like it could compete with other modern racing titles. And now with iRacing stepping in to handle this one, expectations shot through the roof. Players want that authentic simulation, the same kind of precision and realism you get on the iRacing platform. So when the wheel feedback didn't match that standard, people were understandably disappointed. But most aren't giving up. They're giving the devs a chance to fix it. And let's talk about what that fix actually means. When you mess with something like force feedback, you're not just adjusting one setting. It's a mix of hardware communication, physics modeling, and calibration data for different wheels. That's why one player with a Logitech G923 might say, hey, the update made things better, while another with a Fanatec DD Pro might say, it's still dead. Every wheel brand has its own driver software, its own sensitivity curve, and its own way of processing feedback signals. That's probably why iRacing's team is taking time to roll out updates per platform and wheel model. A lot of users in the community threads have been trading settings, testing custom calibration values, and even sharing temporary workarounds. One of the most common tips that actually seems to help a bit is to power cycle your wheelbase and replug it after the game launches. It sounds ridiculously simple, but for some players, that actually resets the input and restores a bit of the missing force. Of course, it's not a real fix, but for anyone who just wants to play without waiting for another patch, it's worth trying. Meanwhile, the paint kit fix is also a welcome one. That mode is where players spend hours designing their cars, adding sponsors, decals, and custom colors. It's a pretty central feature for fans who love creating their own NASCAR experience. Before the update, a number of players were getting random crashes when trying to load textures or finalize designs, and it made the entire paint shop mode unreliable. After this first update, people have reported it's a lot more stable now. You can load, save, and even preview designs without the game freezing, which is a big step in the right direction. And the last lap caution issue, that's another interesting one. NASCAR fans know how critical race-ending cautions are. The way those are triggered can completely change the outcome of a race. So imagine you're a career mode event, you're side by side with someone on the final lap, a crash happens behind you, and there's no caution. It ruins the authenticity. This fix seems small, but it's one of those behind-the-scenes updates that shows the devs are paying attention to race logic as well as visuals. Now, let's talk about expectations moving forward. One update won't magically fix everything, and honestly, no one really expects it to. What most players are hoping for now is consistent communication and a clear roadmap. The iRacing team has already shown they're listening. They've replied to tweets, shared that they're testing new builds, and mentioned they're working with wheel manufacturers directly. If they can keep that momentum and start delivering smaller, regular patches instead of waiting for one big one every few weeks, this game has a really strong chance to settle into a good place. What's interesting is how this entire launch mirrors the pattern of so many modern racing games. You get a launch that's full of excitement, an immediate flood of bug reports, then quick-fire patches over the first couple of weeks. Games like F1, Gran Turismo, even Forza Motorsport all went through that exact same cycle. The difference here is that NASCAR fans have been waiting for this type of authentic sim-style title for years, so expectations are way higher and patience is a little thinner. But honestly, if you look at the underlying gameplay, people are saying there's real potential here. Once you get past the technical hiccups, the racing feels solid. The AI is aggressive and smart, the visuals are sharp, and the broadcast presentation looks really good. You can see the foundation of something that, once patched up, could easily become the best car console experience we've had in a long time. It's just that the first impression got a little overshadowed by the bugs. So what's next? Based on how iRacing usually handles feedback, we can probably expect another patch fairly soon, possibly within a week or two after the full launch on October 14th. That'll likely address more refined wheel tuning, maybe bring back the full strength of the force feedback, and hopefully fix the weak vibration for controller players too. They might also start polishing performance, and some players mentioned minor frame dips during larger field races, especially on the PS5 version. Until then, if you're jumping in for the first time, the best advice I can give is this. Make sure you're running the latest version, update your wheels firmware, and if you're using custom settings, don't be afraid to tweak them. Sometimes just bumping up the FFB multiplier or changing your steering rotation can make a big difference. And if you're using a controller, experiment with sensitivity until it feels right for you. At the end of the day, yeah, NASCAR 25's launch hasn't been perfect, but there's a sense that it's heading in the right direction. The developers are communicating, updates are already rolling out, and the community is actively testing and sharing fixes. It's the kind of collaborative atmosphere that can really help a game like this find its footing. So if you were thinking about skipping it altogether, maybe hold off just a bit and see how the next patch shakes things out. Because there's definitely something special here. It just needs a few laps around the track to warm up. Anyway, that's where things stand right now with NASCAR 25's first update and the current state of the game. I'm curious to know what your experience has been like. Are you on PS5, Xbox, or PC? Have you noticed any improvements after the patch? Drop your thoughts down below because I've following the community reactions like crazy, and everyone seems to have a slightly different story depending on their setup. If you're new here, consider subscribing so you don't miss the next breakdown, because I'll be covering every major patch and update as they roll out. I want to see how this game evolves over the next few months, especially once the official season mode and online races start getting more attention. There's a ton of potential here, and if the devs keep listening to players the way they have so far, I really think they can turn this into something great. So Yeah, that's the full situation right now. First patch out, force feedback improvements starting to land, fixes for crashes, and race logic already in motion, and the devs promising more updates soon. It's been a bumpy start, but it's not the end of the race. Let's see if NASCAR 25 can recover and really show what it's capable of. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll catch you in the next one.